London City Council regular meeting Tuesday, January 25th, 7 o'clock. We will excuse Council Member Bowers and Council Member Perkins tonight. We have everyone up here. We will start with a prayer. Pratt, will you pray for us tonight?
Sure.
Right. After the prayer, we will have the pledge. We'll go to there.
Our kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day. Grateful that we have the opportunity to be here together as a city council and as a community. We ask you that we'll be able to make good decisions, that we'll be able to benefit those around us and be mindful of the decisions which we are making. Grateful for the land we live in, and we ask you that we'll be able to receive more moisture, that we'll be able to prosper in this land. We say and ask these things in my Son Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Council had a chance to look at the agenda in minutes. I have one correction in there. It was just a spelling. No.
Spelled a few times in there.
Oh, pardon me.
Well, it's not all, it's on like the lawyers, it's spelled the same as mine, it's NIELS, and then it's in there as NEI. But
Oh, well, I appreciate bringing that to my attention. Thank
And then on page 6, just where it's talking about Mr. Murdoch, there's just in the middle of there, it's just misspelled once.
you. Oh, dear.
Other than that, I didn't see anything different.
Oh, yes, no,
See
thank
that.
you. Anything else?
Everything looked accurate to me.
I will change those.
Okay, if we have a motion to approve those with those changes.
motion, we approve the minutes,
Okay.
those with the changes.
Okay. Councilmember Nelson and Councilmember Gasser. All in favor? Okay, that's everyone here. Any declaration of conflicts of interest from anyone? Good. Comments. And if anybody from the public wants to address the council, we will hear from you. Yeah, go ahead, just come up and tell us your names for the record. And
absolutely. So I'm Jared Anderson with Emory Telecom. I'm COO, and we are currently holding a public information meeting over at the college right now. And my public relations person said, you really ought to go over to city council and talk to them about it as well. So unfortunately, we were double booked, but our CEO is over there giving that presentation. And so I figured I'd come chat with you guys. Definitely don't want to overstay my welcome. And so I don't know how much time you'd like me to take.
typically we give 2 minutes, but
2 minutes. Okay.
give us some information. I wanted to go tonight, so it'll be good to hear what.
So it should be really exciting for the community. You know that we have a cable internet network, and we purchased from Perkins Communications a long time ago. We've upgraded it. We've since built fiber through the area, and we currently provide fiber service to businesses, cable internet service to residences. We petitioned the state and fought for 2 years at the Public Service Commission to get what's called CPCN status in the area. And what that allows us to do is draw from state funds to help build out these high cost areas, because a lot of you are underserved by existing telcos and so forth. So we were initially denied. We finally appealed and won CPCN status. We have a proven track record. We've done it in Carbon and Emory County. We're 99.9% fiber to the home and business up there. We successfully, over the last 6 years, cut over 10,000 people, 10,000 homes in that area. We anticipate doing the exact same thing in Grand and San Juan. We've got but basically, most of Blanding and South happens in 2022 this year. North Blanding, the more sparse populated areas. Doing it. So it's just see a lot of activity. It's done. Right now, we've got a construction crew that's about 2/3 of the way there, and then we'll have everybody.
Maybe on our next meeting, we can just set up like a, get you on Zoom or something, and have you give us a little. Yeah, I think that information, we can have some time.
So things, and this will really improve communications in the area that's much needed.
Will provide any jobs, more jobs.
Absolutely. So I've already got, I think, 3 technicians that we've hired in Blanding and Monticello just to support this area. They've been doing installs up in Castle Valley, so they're jumping a bit for Blanding to open up so that they don't have to keep driving up there. So technicians, I'm building a warehouse in Monticello right now because we've got so much activity. Sports, so I'll have a warehouseman in Monticello. I don't care where they live, as long as they're close. We'll likely hire more in this area just to support that infrastructure. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So instead of sending guys from Moab like we traditionally did, we gradually put a few in, and then we're also headed over to Dove Creek, Colorado right now, and so the Monticello is kind of the hub for that.
Yeah. Do you have a card?
I don't, but
Okay, I'll get you an email after or something, and we can link up.
all on the
You
sign
write
sheet,
it on
I'll
that.
write my email
Yeah,
address
that'll
down.
be perfect.
Write it on that tablet next to your name.
Perfect. Will do. Perfect. Yep, and then like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions. Shoot me an email.
Okay.
I'll leave my cell phone number on there as well, and I'll have somebody get me on the next agenda.
Okay, yeah, no, I'll link up with you and we'll get you, because that's exciting. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Perfect. Yep, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
All right, any more public comment? Hey, tell us your name for the
Hi,
record.
Tiffany Dolan. I am here on behalf of the San Juan chapter of Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife. We have hosted our event at the Binding City Wellness Center since it was built. And this year they're telling us that because of an occupancy permit limitation, that we're only allowed to have 299 people there. Last year we had 525. So we've worked really hard to build up our numbers and our awareness for our conservation efforts. This is our big fundraiser for the year. And so I'm just here to request that you guys please consider allowing us to continue the event and not limiting our attendance.
Okay, thank you. All right, any more public comment? Okay, we will move on with the rest of our meeting. First is we'll go with reports. To start, I went to I guess for my report, I went up to the youth day on the Hill at the Capitol last week, and that was good. We don't have a youth council yet. We've been working on it, as an update for that as well, the Youth Coalition for the county is interested in helping us with the youth council, basically the same thing. So I've been talking with Alin Mitchell and Trevor Olson, and we're working that out basically so we don't have to create something different, but we can use that youth coalition that's already going to help us with the youth council. And then as far as the rest of my report, I've asked Mary Shumway to come. We have caught wind of a situation with the SIPLA stuff, and Mary knows more than I do. So I am gonna have Mary help me present this information, I guess. So Mary, give us a rundown and I'll.
Okay. I don't know as much as I wish I knew about this particular proposal. It's not a proposal that they wanted any input in from San Juan County, but basically what SITLA has done and put into place as far as a proposal that will move forward to the legislature this session is a proposal to trade out all of the land in what is now the Bears Ears, all those SITLA sections to other counties.
No.
Yeah, we agree.
And so they've been working on it for a very long time. We now have the opportunity we have up to 2 weeks tops to provide an alternative plan if we don't like what they're doing. Another option is, well, in addition to this option, and I'm on an errand and working with Phil Lyman on this. He called me a week ago last Friday. It was in the evening, and he had just met with the Trust Lands Administration, and this was unveiled to him, and he was immediately concerned, and they knew he would be, and that's why they waited till it was legislature starting, and then they'll pass this. Unless all of the legislators hear from everybody in San Juan County that this is not okay to trade out our birthright of these trust lands. Now, to clarify, the money that goes to each school throughout the state is not affected. Well, we won't get less in San Juan County because if we lose trust lands, that doesn't change. The schools will not get less. The reason they want to trade these lands out is they're saying, these lands are not worth anything. They're in a monument, and we don't have anything that can produce any revenue for SITLA if they trade it into San Juan County. So we already have people in place who are going to sit down this weekend who will work on a map to present to SITLA with lands that we believe are viable and they can make money off them. A couple of my questions today was, one of them when I spoke with Dave is how many of the trust lands across what's the hurry? What's the rush? The monument was this big, then it was this big, and what's the rush? Well, those lands are worth anything, the monument's not going to go away, is the narrative there. I don't agree with them, and I feel like the overreach from the federal government in the first place wasn't right, and for any state entity to jump in and join them and further discredit and San Juan County is not okay. I mentioned our economy. So in the 1950s and 60s, San Juan County was the second wealthiest county in the state of Utah, next to Salt Lake County. Salt Lake County was not the wealthiest because it was the most populated. San Juan County or Salt Lake County was the wealthiest because of Kennecott copper. We were second to Salt Lake County because of extraction, oil, gas, and mining. Provided jobs. It provided revenue to the county, to the school district. If you look at the age of the buildings in this county, they were all built during that time. There was a lot of money coming in. People had jobs. People could stay here and work. And then we started having all the restrictions on public lands. That extraction happened a lot, mostly through permit system with the BLM land, and there was multiple use. Also happens on trust lands. All over the state, there's activity on trust lands. And people who live in areas where there's trust lands, and of course, the way it was designated at statehood was the checkerboard system throughout the state of Utah. Are you all aware of, does everybody know how that checkerboard system? They could have taken all the acreage and plopped it right in the middle of Utah or right in the middle of any other state, but that's not how it works. So that every population throughout the state would always have opportunity to live near trust lands. Land is the only way anybody has a job anywhere. And it is potentially our opportunity to grow a little bit. Another one of the questions is, okay, so why hurry? What's the big hurry to get these lands out of there? Second, well, they answer that question, well, they're not making any money and they're not going to. Well, the land you're proposing to trade them to, will that immediately make money for Sitla? And the answer is no, not for 10 years or so.
Unless those lands are up for auction.
And then they turn more land in somebody else's county into private land, which we desperately need here. We're 8% privately owned. And so it's our only opportunity to increase our private land. It's our only opportunity for activity on those lands to pay taxes into the county and for education. Anyway, those are some of the things that are going on. They kept it under lock and key on purpose, and he told me specifically, because I don't need a bunch of people in San Juan County trying to mess this up for me.
Is this Ewell?
You're yes, who's been a longtime friend of mine. But what they're doing is, what we need to do is oppose this for generations to come. When people say, oh, you know, there's nothing out there under the ground, it's not worth anything. With technology, the technology that we have today, people could have said there were lots of elements and things that weren't worth anything 100 years ago. Now with cell phones and electric cars and computers and all the technology, this fiber, the internet, there are a lot of things that are valuable today that were not valuable 100 years ago. And so if we let them trade those things out of our county, then we'll never get it back. So anyway, that's.
And I asked Mary to come because she knew more, and we can't necessarily do anything as far as business or action tonight, other than we can be aware of it. And if we need to have another meeting in between, we still don't even know a time. We know maybe 2 weeks, but we haven't seen a bill written or anything yet.
Who's preparing the maps?
They're prepared.
They'll do it. I don't know who will
So the
sponsor it.
alternate.
So Phil and some of the people who worked on the San Juan County Land Board during the Bears Ears time, we'll be doing that. And if you'd like to be part of that, I'll let Phil know.
I don't know if I would be confident in that, but
We're going to.
are you talking about, like you talked about, there are lands that are usable? Would they be within the monument, or would you just move them to elsewhere in San Juan?
What they're gonna do is move them out of the county.
But I know,
They
but-
want to
but-
move them out of the county.
But the ones you're talking about usable in San Juan County, are you talking about using them, the ones within the monument, or transferring from the monument to another place in San Juan County?
Yes, the
Okay.
second, and it has to be swapped for BLM land. That's the only option. So if we allow what is now trust lands and technically private property, because it doesn't belong to the federal government, it doesn't belong to the state of Utah.
It belongs to the trust.
Yes, it belongs to that trust. And if then we turn more land already into BLM land, and then our potentially private land just leaves our county, it's just not okay.
No.
So that left me. So
Okay. Well, thank you. We
Anyway.
appreciate it. And I plan on writing a letter. I mean, anybody else that wants to.
David, you're.
yeah, I don't think directly to him is going to make any
I
difference.
think it's going to be the
Bill's-
legislation as to
Bill's
where.
suggestion was to send an email to every single legislator, because David Keekins, he's also on the same page as Phil. And so we've got our two people already covered. We don't need to
Right.
let them know that we oppose this, but they need our help letting the other legislators know that we oppose this. And they are moving them into all rural counties, but it still completely disregards and discredits San Juan County. They have safeguarded a few things. They've safeguarded, and I haven't seen any of the information. I've only had the conversations. But Dave, you told me that they've safeguarded mining claims, the mill, oil and gas, the Cow Black Airport, and so that they're keeping our economy intact.
Is the
They're
mill on
saving our-
trust land?
No,
Mill is on private
no.
property owned by
Right,
them.
it is, but the surrounding, whatever, and again, I haven't seen the maps, that's just what he told me. And I said, I appreciate that, but if you think you're helping us to have a thriving economy, I mean, we can't go without those things in our county. We're hanging on by a shoestring with those things. We need more opportunity. And so he felt like, you know what, we're protecting your economy and we barely have an economy.
Right.
So anyway.
So when more information comes out, I'll let everyone know. I'll be in touch with Mary and Phil and we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mary.
Mary.
Thank you. All right, does council have anything to report? None? Okay, Dave, city manager report.
Hi, I've got a few things. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, just a quick follow-up to the discussion about the Sitla land. Mayor, I would recommend that you and I work with the League of Cities and Towns to see if maybe we can get some preliminary information from them about that legislation. They're usually in the know. And then we can also hopefully maybe utilize them in conveying the position of the community on that. As far as reports, I don't know if there's any questions about what I have. I was planning on reporting on, and I'm grateful Tiffany was able to attend. I'm not sure if she's still there, but was able to come and speak. I spoke with Sportsman's Banquet today. We explained to them the risk and the liability that the city would have to assume if we allowed more than the 299, unfortunately. But one thing, so the council is aware, we have offered them if they're able to coordinate their banquet to be less than 299, or if they want to coordinate it with like the school, the high school, or the middle school, that we would be happy to help them with chairs, tables, the city sound system to ensure that keeps going. So just a FYI that we are trying to work with them because we know the situation is frustrating, and that we, even as a city with our own events, are making sure we maintain under the 299 because of the potential liabilities there. Couple just key things I wanted to point out from the report, which I'm sure you've read, but we've been looking at airport commercial policies. We hope to have something soon to the council for discussion, just to discuss options and how you would like to see a commercial policy created. The Parks and Rec, the baseball field, I understand they did some tilling out at the field in preparation, that it looks good out there. I'm sure David could speak to that more too. And then the wellness center, the sprinkler system and the showers, we have an architect and a fire suppression company that have looked at those. And I was hoping to have estimates from them. Well, hopefully sometime this week. It's only Tuesday this week, but hopefully we'll see something soon. So anyways, those are just some rough highlights of what's in there and a couple other things that I had mentioned. So I don't know if there's any questions from that.
Any questions for Dave? Okay. All right, finance report, Kim Palmer.
The financials in the packet. Do you have any questions for me regarding the report? I tried to do a mid-year update on some things and put some information for the newer council members that might be interesting. If you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer it, or if you want to stop by sometime.
I might stop by.
Okay.
I've been through it quite a bit, but got a couple bigger questions.
Yes, please.
I'll stop by.
I love to have questions. The other thing I would point out is that there's the proposed fiscal year 2023 budget schedule in there, just for your information. Any questions?
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is basically the biggest thing there is that the work session. And then that, I mean, so that's April 30th. We usually do a work session on a Saturday morning. Try and keep it brief. And I mean, it is our work session to work on the budget, so it can go longer, but check your schedules and see if that works. If not, we can be somewhat flexible on that, yeah.
Yeah, we could traditionally do it on Saturday morning for like a couple
Yeah.
hours.
Just a FYI, we originally had it on that following Saturday, but that's the weekend of Mother's Day, so that's why we pushed it back to the 30th.
Gotcha. Okay, we'll look at that, and if there's conflict with anyone, let us know. Public Works, Terry.
I think Mayor and Council, we've got our monthly public works project status report. Questions? We got quite a bit on the agenda. I mean, I can go over stuff or just answer questions.
Whatever you want. I personally don't have any questions for you. I read through
My
it.
question is not even about this list. What can you tell me about what the UDOT's doing? What's their projected timeframe?
Oh, they're gonna wrap that up in a couple of weeks, I believe. We've got the only real role the city has, and that is power. And we installed some conduit that's outside of the right of way for them because it opens up a whole can of worms for them to work outside the right of way with these contracts that they have. And so we did a little power extension to get service to them. Other than that, we haven't had too much involvement, but they're finishing up the concrete, I believe, this week. You can see they poured all the pole bases, so it's not going to take too long for them to stand up poles. But I think that'll be done here in a few weeks.
And how many poles are going up? Is it 6 or is there more than 6?
There's 4 at the intersection, one over by the old truck stop, one here by the coffee shop, donut shop, and then one in front of the South Chapel and one in front of Cedar Ridge.
Okay.
And what will be on those things?
You'll have reduced speed flashing signs down here at the school crosswalk at 3rd South. And
Will that be turned on and off by the crosswalk lady, or
that will be turned on and off by the crosswalk lady.
can we get it on a timer?
No, it'll be a switch.
Just one switch instead of 2, they're in.
Just one switch instead of 2, so she won't have to go anywhere. She can come right there to where she sets up to walk the kids across and turn that on. And then we'll have wayfinding signs. So in front of the coffee shop, you'll have your signs that tell everyone basically to turn right to head towards Monticello north on 191. And then at the truck stop, it'll tell, direct folks to take a left and to go south on 191 rather than end up at the end of Center Street wondering what happened. And then there'll be redundancy on those signs again right at the intersection. And then those arms will be set up so that when we warned a traffic signal, they'll be able to just put that in. There'll still be some work with a traffic signal because some of the poles, I can't remember the exact specs on those, but I think you have to be within 10 feet of the actual crosswalk to push the button. If you're a pedestrian, I think these poles are a little bit further in a couple instances. So there'll have to be a little more work done and some more wiring to get a button on a standalone post. But, I mean, that may be 20 years down the road before we have enough traffic to warrant a signal. Other questions? Okay.
All right, it's time for a public hearing. I'll take a motion to go into a public hearing.
Emotionally moved public hearing.
Second.
Okay, I got Councilmember Grover and Councilmember Nilsson, all in favor.
Aye.
All right, that's everyone. So we are in a public hearing for the Perkins major subdivision plant. If anyone is here to speak to us about that.
I think that would be us.
Yeah.
I'm Lloyd Nelson. Me? Okay,
Who's your sidekick? Better introduce him.
this is Josh Nelson, father and sons. We are building a shop down there for people seeing the stuff, or trying to anyway. That will be for our side-by-side tours, not rentals right now. Tour business that we've been pushing together. And so we need a little shop and an office front. It'd be nice, it'll look good. Now, becoming a pretty naive, there's no doubt about that. We went to Richard Perkins and bought the land, went through Craig Anderson to do it. We had no idea that we was gonna come into all this subdivision stuff. And so this is all new to us. But it's all right. We worked with it. We worked through with it. It should go, and go together. We've been working close with Terry Ecker and Brett Hostler. Got to praise them. Terry's come to us with the attitude, not how to slow us down, but an attitude, any hurdles, let's help you get across them. Let's move this forward. And I've been very appreciative of that. It's been good. We've learned a lot about a lot of things. But like I said, it was pretty naive when we started. There's no doubt about that. I ran Sunrise Outfitting for 35 years out of Blanding. And this is a great big jump from that. Virtually Sunrise Outfitting is venturing into Sunrise Sunrise
Outfitting scenic event.
Scenic Event. That's his part of it. Get up here, Josh. Anyway, we've come to ask for this subdivision to be approved. A couple things we'd like onto it if we can, is I'd like to ask the city council all the utilities are virtually right there, pretty close. The sewer runs right in front of it. The water line comes onto Silly's property that he just purchased. Silly didn't have to be part of the subdivision because he can do a land boundary adjustment. But if we wouldn't have gone ahead, then the water would have been buried there if he'd have kept going. The natural gas is about 30 to 40 feet onto his land there in front of the car wash, but he's willing to let us cut 5-foot section out of his driveway. And I've talked to Preston Grover, and he thinks he can run a torpedo and hit that and not disturb very much at all, but that cement. So while we're talking about this, I'd like to ask the council to approve that the city knows how to do it and better than us to go ahead and run that natural gas to our meter and then across our property to the other side. So the other side don't have any problem getting it through, run the water to the meter, the city meter, and take care of that for us if there's any way they would. And we'd also like to ask them to waiver the hookup fees to help us a little bit get along. We're proposing that this little business of ours will bring people to Blanding, not just people that come through here, but people that come through here will also have a day or two to stay longer, which will benefit hotels, restaurants, and everything. We're building as a destination place, not just a place that we can attract people and bring people to San Juan County and Blanding. Everybody, well, not everybody, there was a big outrage about this barriers, and that's true. It's quite a monument. It's not been well welcomed here by a lot of people, including both Josh and I, but it's here. And we're going to jump on this and try to give somebody to do and a way to see the things in the proper way to say things, not just go and look and get lost.
And cost a lot of money going to find you.
Yeah, that's true. It costs a lot of money to go find you because we know all about that. Both Josh and I are search and rescue and been for a long time. So, just and protect the sites. If there's a guide with them, because we're going to do tours with a guide. If there's a guide with them, then the sites are more protected. We're not going to want to disturb them or mess them up or go off trails because that'll virtually get us kicked off the BLM, which is most of BLM. So we're here to promote San Juan County, promote it in a way that will benefit Blanding and San Juan County, push them to that we're not all against things. We're not all here to just tear things up. We want it preserved as well as anybody else.
Awesome, thank you.
Any questions?
I don't have any right now. I might later.
Mayor and Council, this portion, as a reminder, is just the public hearing for public comment, and discussion can be had in the next business portion. And there are some comments that staff would when it gets to the business.
Take those in a bit. All right, anyone else want to talk to us during this public hearing? Good, okay. I'll take a motion to leave the public hearing.
Should we leave the public hearing?
Okay. A second.
Second, yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion from Councilmember Nelson and a second from Councilmember Gasser. All in favor to leave this public hearing?
Aye.
Okay, that's everyone. We are back into our regular council meeting. Onto our business items, with our first one being the Perkins major subdivision plat. Brett.
Mayor and council, you have before you on the table there a couple Mylar copies of this Perkins subdivision that they're talking about. This property located between the old Shopco building, which is now a Utah State University building, and Seeley's Car Wash, as the Mr. Nelson talked to us about. The reason why it's coming before you is because in Landing City's land use ordinances, if you have one of the lots that's bigger than 1 acre, the city council determined that would be a major subdivision, and the city council is the land use authority for major subdivisions. And so this subdivision has met all the minimum requirements that are required based on the 2 lots that they're proposing to have in this subdivision at this time. And if you look on the right-hand side of that plat, you can see that the planning commission, the city engineer, and the planning director have all signed off on it. So at this time, we tell you that they have met the minimum requirements that they need to meet for this particular subdivision.
With it, how it is the subdivision now, will there be any issues later for anyone going in there? I mean,
There could be issues because Mr. Perkins still has 4.5 acres or over 4 acres. So at some point in the future, he might want to re-subdivide that smaller again, and they would have to go through the same process.
it wouldn't affect that lot 1 though, right?
That's the one we're talking about right now.
Well, like if anything were to change, like nothing's gonna, like they build their business there and everything, and something else happens there, nothing's going to, it won't affect them.
Well, it could affect them if they need to extend utilities like he was talking about, or other things like that. But as far as them having their business and owning a lot, it won't. Because if the city council approves this, then the city would be able to issue a building permit once they meet those requirements.
And
It's
if I
not
can
going to affect them anyway. If they take utilities across the front to the next lot, it's not their responsibility to take them to the back of their property unless they choose to subdivide it, correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
Yep.
I was just similarly, I was just going to add that our city engineer and city planner would review those things to ensure that any future development would be planned or accommodated for in the process of developing their property. One other thing that I wanted to add, based on the 2 requests that they made about the extending the gas utility and waiving fees, that cannot be decided here because that's not the business item before you. And if the city council were to consider such things, it most likely would have to be through a development agreement where the city for some reason would want to forego accepting those revenues and assume the cost of those utility extensions. So if that's something the council wants to consider in the future, we can discuss that. But such requests would have to go through some sort of development agreement, and the city council would have to find benefit to the city in doing so.
Right. So right now we're looking at the subdivision plat. We're approving the plat. Is that right?
That's what the public hearing is for.
Okay.
And that's what this business item is for.
Any questions regarding that specific business item for staff or for anyone right now?
Discussing planning and zoning. And
We've discussed it quite a bit.
Okay.
it's a good
We think it's good for the city to have
more business, so.
Yeah, that's important. Okay, if there's no questions, I would accept a motion.
Have a motion to accept it.
Okay. Motion to accept the Perkins major subdivision plat. Okay, Councilmember Gasser and Councilmember Nelson. All in favor? Aye. Is everyone? This is short. I have talked to Paul Murdoch to fill the vacancy we had before we appointed Councilmember Gasser here, and then I've talked to Byron Clark about filling that other spot. And I think for this, all we need is advice and consent on these appointments because they're done by me. So are y'all good with those? Are y'all good with those?
Yeah, those individuals be.
Okay.
really good.
All right.
Fantastic.
We will get them going. Thank you. Number 3, city surplus list, Pratt.
In the packet, there's a list of 14 items that the city would like to post again.
At least some that you posted before.
They are, yeah, they're other,
Just
I think that they're either improperly bid on or they didn't have a price that we felt they could sell, and then the Dodge Ram's a new item.
So there is the one new, but the rest have
Yeah,
been.
yeah,
So there's a minimum on these things.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, and they're closed bids. How they've been in the past. On those sheets, I mean, it does say that, like, I mean, if they enter something different than the minimum and we feel like, you know, like it's time to just get rid of this, then we can, but we do have the minimum set there in hopes to get the minimum, but. What do you need on this? Do you need a motion to put those up for?
I believe this is more just informational for the council.
Yeah. So unless anyone has any heartburn on listing those surplus items.
I've been wondering for years why that one truck's still sitting up there under the tree.
Because we can't even give it away. All right, okay. We will list those and get them going. Number 4, the new public works truck, Terry.
Alrighty, Mayor and Council, with our new purchasing policy that I'm still trying to get up to speed on, we need to, any purchase over $25,000, that has to come back to council to get approval. It's in the budget. We have $40,000 budgeted-ish, maybe 38. Right in there, the cost of the truck. I guess I'm still on my.
29,810.
Yeah, it's right there under 30. And so, I mean, we'll still spend some more, you know, getting the truck ready to go once we get it, but that's the purchase.
What else
price.
does it need, Terry?
Toolboxes, orange flashy light. We may put a flatbed on it with toolboxes rather than traditional bed.
If you do that, would a chassis be cheaper than to buy one with?
Not on the state bed, you know, and then having the bed makes it good because when we get done with it, we can throw the bed back on.
Right.
So yeah, on state bed, it's about $6 to buy it with the bed or without. So this is a quote from, we just buy on state bid pricing. You can see that it's really good pricing for a new pickup. It is just a gas motor, but those have worked pretty well for us. Well, I mean, we're just not putting a lot of miles on our trucks, and a lot of these stay right in town. You know, it's even rare to pull something, you know, across recaptures.
How long do we typically, like, how long will we use this?
Well, you can see we're selling an 09 and a 98 or something. So it just really depends on the vehicle. Of course, that 98 is one that the police have been using for a dog catcher truck, or were, and now it's been parked for several years. And so that's why it wasn't on the surplus list. Last time it was kind of forgotten about over there under the trees behind the police stations.
Okay.
Anyway, we're just looking for approval to move forward with that budgeted expenditure.
Okay.
Mayor, if I can just make sure that there's a clear understanding of how that purchasing policy works and why it's coming to you. So I have a spending limit of 25,000. Anything over 5,000 has to come to me from department heads. Anything over 25,000, the bids have to come to you guys. Typically, you would see multiple bids come to you, but because this purchase is being made through the state contract, you only see this one bid. So it just helps streamline the process.
And it's been budgeted for. We've put this in the budget. There's
Yep.
no adjustments that have to be made to make this purchase. It falls within it. So do you need a motion on this?
Yeah,
Okay, so I would take a motion to approve the new public works truck.
Motion to approve public works pickup
Okay,
through Ken Gar Ford.
awesome. We got a motion from Councilmember Grover to purchase the public works truck through Ken Garf and a second by Councilmember Nielsen. All in favor?
Aye.
That is everyone. Go buy a truck. All right, number 5, resolution 1-25-2022-1. This is the DWR agreement for the dock and Pratt.
Any questions or concerns on that? Happy to answer any of those regarding that contract. The main thing there, the project area is referred to that contract. That is just the dock. That's not the asphalt, gravel, or the land, anything of that nature.
It's gonna be David and Brian that will.
Yeah, so if anyone's not familiar, it's an aluminum dock that you move with a vehicle, a UTV or a truck. You back it into the water and you can move it with the water levels as they hopefully keep rising all summer.
That's a pretty minimal.
Yeah, very minimal time.
I still don't like the way it's worded, Pratt, from our conversation earlier. I believe the state's trying to project more onto us than just maintaining it. The city has no right to have listed here. To me, I'm reading this as we're restricting access to the reservoir. And also on this other thing, this other page, the DWR will stock the project with fish. How are you gonna stock a dock?
Their project, I guess they're referring to in that is the actual lake.
So to me,
So I guess you could look at it, no one really owns the lake, so that, I guess we can definitely add wording.
we actually do have someone that owns the lake. It's the water conservation and the irrigation company own the water. It belongs to them.
Right. So I don't know how the DWR works with them on stocking fish. That's out of my understanding.
But that's my biggest problem with this. It says that we have to, that they will stock the project. Well, the project, according to you, is this dock. They're not gonna stock fish in the dock.
They will use the dock to stock, though.
Technicalities here that I don't agree with, and I think the city is.
At the end of the day, I think, as it's mentioned here, we receive this for free, and it's a give and take partnership between two public entities. We received a free dock, which clears up one of the main issues we've had over the last 2 years is people not being able to get their boats unloaded safely. This provides that.
Yeah.
As mentioned, there's the lifespan of the things, if someone breaks it or we get to a point, but we have that with our trust as well. So this is their standard contract they have with probably 15 other cities and their reservoirs and management partners. So
What do they manage anything? What do they manage out there now?
they're just managing the fish stock, I guess, is what their management.
If you're fishing without a license or too many poles.
Yeah.
So your concern is they could restrict access to it?
Well, I just don't like the way it's written. I don't like the way it's written.
It has a couple sentences, where it's restricting, but, the understanding there is Blanding City's not going to just pull it because we want to, we would leave it there, weather permitting, 6 to 7 months of the year. We would pull it out as it freezes to not ruin what's there currently, but that's the idea. If it was vandalized or someone drove their truck onto it, then we could then pull it. And that's where it kind of sounds like we're restricting access, but it says the city may, it doesn't say that we have to, it says we may do those.
So if I can add real quick, Pratt, is there any kind of specific timeline that this needs to be done by, or could we
No,
take?
they'll let us know. So when we talked originally, we planned for March, when it's done thawing every night.
Right.
The ice is receded, or I know, the ice is dissipated and the waters are increasing. We'd put it in, then as the water recedes, we would push it down as needed. Hopefully,
well,
not very much this year, but.
What I was going to recommend, I mean, I read through it. I understand what Councilmember Grover's concern is there. But if the council is not quite comfortable with all the details on it, then, we could table it. We could have our new city attorney review it, give us any feedback, and then bring it back the next city council meeting. Or if the attorney doesn't have any recommended changes, perhaps he can explain that at that time, but at least having him review it would be maybe helpful.
And if it helps, the DWR's attorney and their, I don't know if it's their public relations directors who wrote this. So it wasn't just like someone in an office, their attorney as well reviewed it.
I'm just gonna go on record right now that I don't want to waste money having an attorney read this paper, but I have reservations when I deal with the state of Utah. Enough said.
On record.
All right. Any further questions about the resolution? And if not, I would take a motion for whatever anybody wants to motion.
How would you word it?
I don't know. Because it just doesn't.
You could motion to table it,
Yeah.
pending review of the attorney.
You want to table? You don't want to table? I waste more time on something that's verbiage. I'll make a motion to accept or adopt resolution number 01-25-2022.
Okay, have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it with the motion to make sure that's in the record and that's, that we noted it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor to adopt resolution 125-2022-1, the agreement for the DWR agreement for the dock. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And opposed?
I'm not opposed, but I'm not gonna vote.
You're abstaining?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so that is Councilmember Gasser and Nilsson that voted aye, and Councilmember Grover is abstaining. Okay. It passes. Resolution, so number 6, resolution 1-25-2022-2. This is the agreement with Blaisdell Church and Johnson. Do you have anything to share with us?
So I was just gonna say, I wrote a single staff report for the following 2 business items, because they're both related to hiring a city attorney and our prosecutor, our criminal prosecutor. I would still recommend that each resolution separately, though. I don't know if there's any questions about the contracts. We discussed them pretty thoroughly in the last meeting when the decision was made to sell
Nothing
them.
changed within the conversations with either attorney?
Say that again.
None of the numbers changed? Like as
No,
far-
everything is identical to their proposals.
On the travel and stuff, was that negotiated at all, or did you just?
Nope, he heard your concerns, but when we're talking about the Aaron Nielsen law for criminal prosecution, but what was presented in the contract was, or what was presented in the proposal is what he put in the contract.
Okay, so with this
on the
first
call
one,
today,
we're specific. Sorry, go
But
ahead.
Aaron Nielsen for the criminal prosecution isn't on the call today, but Eric Johnson with the civil matters contract, he is on the call if you have any questions of him.
Okay, and that'll be the first one. We will do these separate. So this first one is the Blaisdell Church in Johnson, and this one is for our civil stuff that we have within the city. So they would take care of all of that. None of the pricing's changed. Does anybody have questions on this one specifically?
No, well, I'll make a motion we accept or adopt resolution 01-25-22-2, Blaisdell Church in Johnson.
Okay, I have a motion. Do we have a second? Councilmember Nielsen, a second from Councilmember Gasser. Any question on the motion to adopt resolution 125-2022-2, the contract with Blaisdell Church in Johnson? No. All in favor? Aye. All right, that's everyone. And then we will move to number 7, which is resolution 1-25-2022-3. This is the contract with similar. I mean, we had this discussion last time and nothing changed in the contract. This would be for our legal, criminal side of what we need for an attorney. Any questions for David, or David, did you want to add anything on this one?
No, I think I would still just note that staff is still cautious about the fee structure of this contract. However, if approved, we will be prudent in its implementation and trying to keep it within budget.
We get to a point we don't like it, can we say no more?
Say that again.
If we get to a point where we like neither one of these options, can we say we're going back to the drawing board without costing us a bunch of money?
Yeah, both contracts provide a 30-day notice clause if we decide we're not satisfied with the service, or if we find that, for example, the rate structure is, killing us in some ways. So, and we'll try to keep an eye on that to see how projections are going, particularly with the criminal prosecution contract.
And that out is for them as well, similar, I mean, like with what Kendall, like it was written into that contract that he could terminate the contract as well as we could, and that's on both sides, correct?
Say that again.
So that termination clause is for both sides. If the firm needed or wanted to get out of that contract, they have the same 30 days that we have.
Yes.
Okay.
And then,
Right.
Mayor, when this resolution is done, there is a comment on one of the prior business items that I need to convey to you from our new civil attorney.
Okay. Any other questions on this item 7, the resolution 25-22-3?
I'll make a motion we adopt resolution 01-25-22-3, Aaron Nielsen law.
Okay, I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, that's Councilmember Nielsen with the motion, seconded by Councilmember Grover. Any question or discussion on the motion? None, will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
That is everyone. All right, what was your comment, Dave?
So this is from Eric Johnson, or I guess, Eric, do you want to maybe explain that since you're on the call?
Sure. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a 6-member council, 5 council members and a mayor.
No, we have a 5-member council and the mayor.
Where the mayor only votes in the event of a tie, is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, great. So in that form of government, it requires 3 affirmative votes for a motion to carry.
Okay, so back to the
motion on the dock, that although a majority voted in favor of it, there were only 2 votes in favor. and therefore that's insufficient to carry the day. And you'd need to bring it back up at a future meeting.
Or they could vote on it if Councilmember Grover decides not to abstain. Is that correct?
No, I already voted.
Yeah, he abstained.
I
So,
abstained, so we have to go back and talk about it again.
which is, I mean, we're not on a time thing. We'll do that. We'll bring it back next time.
Great, okay. So I didn't want to cause a problem right off the bat.
No,
but-
I was wondering about that and didn't say anything and probably should have, but now we know and we'll bring it back next time.
Yeah, it's just a little bit different from, say, most corporations. It's a majority of those from the board that are present. But for a city, it's actually a majority of the voting members of the council.
Okay. All right, well,
Thank you, Eric.
we will, I guess for clarification for the minutes, then number 5, resolution 1-25-2022-1, the DWR agreement. We'll bring that back at our next meeting.
Yeah, we'll have it for you.
And I think you gotta bring it back under my name because I abstained. These guys voted for it, so they can't bring it back if they want to. If I recall.
Well, I think it failed, right?
It failed,
Yeah,
so
it failed.
it would just be it'll still be under me.
And we'll get it back on.
You can get them to change the verbiage.
I'll talk to him. We'll clarify a few things.
Because, anyway, the scope of the project is the dock. It doesn't talk anything about fish. I'd like to see a fish live on a dock.
Maybe we can make it happen.
I
Okay,
guess he couldn't have bucket out.
is that all you had for us, Dave? Okay, thanks, Eric, for that. We appreciate you being here and look forward to working with you. We do not have a reason for a closed session tonight. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
That motion to adjourn.
Okay. I got a motion to adjourn, Councilmember Gasser, and seconded by Councilmember Nilsson. All in favor?
I guess I
That's
could have
everyone.
abstained and then we'd have to stay here.
That's all of us. We're done. Leave.
Good evening.